Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Peaceful Rebellion. Well, we are here with Linda and Jill, and we're going to have a chat about all of the new stuff that's happening to them in the world of channeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hello, ladies. How the dickens are you?
We're very well.
We are very well, yes. And
you,
it's really nice to see you again, Gordon. It's great to be in your company once again.
Absolutely.
Well, the same back. We talked. How long ago was it that we had a chat? Probably now.
Well, we think about a year.
We're coming up to our first anniversary.
Yes, we are. And it wasn't long after that we had our first interview with you.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So a year ago. Wow, how time flies here. We're in speedy times, are we not?
We are.
Definitely are.
So I've been following you, and obviously we have, we connect through Telegram. So I've been watching your progress, where initially you were channeling various beings, and now there's been a shift. Yeah. So to the Andromedan Council. What's all that about, and how did that happen? I know you've talked about it on your channel, but I thought it'd be interesting to know.
Yes, that was that was quite crazy, because whilst we were channeling the questions and the answers that were sent in by the viewers, we were having the Ra collective through to answer some of the questions, which was very
great,
interesting.
actually,
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. And as that progressed, I was notified that as people were accepting the answers from Ra, and Ra had introduced the fact that they were Anunnaki.
Off-planet
beings, yeah, absolutely. It was easy if the audience were accepting those answers from the Anunnaki, known as the Ra Collective, that they would now like to move on to the Andromedan Council.
Okay.
So it was a gradual process, not only for us but for the audience as well.
I think we were a little bit leery about the whole thing, really, because to suddenly go from what we were doing to, oh, hello there, we're now talking to the Andromedan Council, and we didn't know how that would be received, actually, but because there are other people out there, and the Andromedan Council told us that we are, there are other people in touch with the Andromedans, and of course we knew, about some of them. So we thought, well, this is why would we be a bit reticent about doing it? And once you get rid of that, you just plow on, and it's been absolutely great. It's really a lovely thing to be able to do.
It's a good vibration, isn't it? It's
the energy when we're doing it is unbelievable. When they come through and you're making contact with these people, apart from the fact that it's quite an exciting thing to be doing, because you just get this, wow, does that really happen? Who is it that we're actually speaking to? Once you get over that, it's just a lovely thing to be able to do, and the messages are so lovely, and they are really, really a wonderful group to talk to, because
there's nothing negative about it.
No.
Even if what's happening in the world right now is negative, there's a positive outcome, a way that we can help, and it's a nice way to introduce the Andromedan Council to people like us,
and not just the actual council, but the fact that they are made up of other races, off-planet, other races who are out there and want to help our planet come through this hideous situation that we have been living through for goodness knows how long. And they're ready to help, and they can't help unless they can help with all sorts of things, but to sort out our human mess, they can't intervene unless they are invited in, and they've got to be known about to be invited in. So the disclosure program is obviously a big part of that, and they are part of that. That's part of what's going to be disclosed. And the fact that you can get in on the ground floor, so to speak, and help with that whole project is huge. And we're just a little tinsy part of it, but it is really lovely. It's
if we can help people like us to accept that there are beings out there who want to guide us through this process, then when the time comes for those that aren't awake, we're already geared up to help them with the acceptance of what we understand is true.
Sure.
You know, touching wood, we haven't had any negative response so far. I know we haven't got a huge reach, but certainly the acceptance of it and the way people have responded has been lovely. And I think that's because so many people are waking up. There can't be that many people that think that we really literally are the only group of beings in this massive solar system or galaxy, or and you know, the idea that if there are beings out there, they're horrible and hideous and need to be avoided at all costs.
Sure.
It just doesn't make any sense at all.
And we're not experiencing that at all, are we?
No,
it's not in our.
And if they had wanted to come in, goodness knows they're much more advanced than we are. If they had wanted to come in and take over, they surely would have done it some time ago.
Long time ago, yeah. No, yeah.
And the vibration that we pick up from these beings is just lovely. It is. And you whatever reservations we may have had in the past, they just go.
And there's a sense of humour as well.
Yes,
you know, we picked that up very clearly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lovely two-way conversation. It's it is.
So when I was coming up to do this, I was preparing a drink, and my wife said, "So is it therapy night you've got?" I said, No, it's a chat. I'm going to have a chat. She said, "Oh, who are you chatting with?" I said, "Well, I'm chatting with two lovely ladies who channel the Andromedan Council." She looked at me and she started giggling, and I said, I know. If you had told me 10 years ago that I would be having a chat with some people who were channeling, I would have thought that I was crazy. So it's kind of like at the beginning, all of this channeling, I used to think a long time ago, they're just making it up. Yeah, they're just making it up. They're just saying whatever, you know. And then suddenly I found myself doing the same thing and thinking, good grief, will people think I'm just making this up?
Yeah, I've had that same conversation with myself.
Absolutely.
Where does this come from? It's not coming from me. It's so detailed and so eloquent. Not my thoughts, that's for sure.
The other thing that we were talking about was what sort of channeling is this? Because Gill is speaking to souls who were human and left, but now she's talking to beings that presumably are still alive somewhere else. How does that work? So you did ask, didn't you?
Yeah, speaking to souls apparently is channeling, and speaking to the Andromedan Council, I was told it's telepathy.
Oh, cool. Okay, that makes sense.
For me, it seems the same, but you know,
we wondered how you feel about
a slight subtle difference somewhere.
Yeah, but how do you feel about you channeling the emissaries? You know, how have you sort of made sense about how that actually works in terms of clairvoyance and that sort of thing?
Sure, yeah. I think when it first started, what they would do with me would be, they said that they were kind of upgrading my vibration.
Yeah.
So I would have these very weird moments of feeling dizzy, feeling out of body, feeling bizarre. That settled down. But they're always saying, oh, what we're doing is we're just bringing you up to the highest level that we can bring you at this moment. And obviously we're constantly increasing. So I think what happens, we've got this word channeling, for us to communicate with any beings who aren't here in 3D, we've got to be at the top end of the vibration. You know, it's like, if you imagine the way I see it, it's like you've got a thick wall, you know, a thick wall between two rooms. If you're against the wall with the glass, you can hear, you know, but if you're over the other side of the room, you're not going to hear a word. So I think all that happens is when we do this kind of work, we are helped to have this higher vibration, or to get to this higher vibration, then we're open to whoever needs to communicate with us. Because I think whoever it is, whether it be beings that have lived before, or whether it be, beings that are alive but that aren't on this dimension, as long as we're up there, they can get through to us. So as long as we're not, living a terrible life and taking drugs and all of that, as long as we live a fairly clean life, I think they can get through to us.
Yeah. The other thing I was told was I have no ego, so it's easy for them to be able to channel through me. So as far as they're concerned, I'm an excellent vessel because my ego doesn't get in the way.
That's a valid point. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think ego is sometimes often misunderstood, because I think in this sense, I think ego is a good thing, because it's a protection for you to make sense of what is around you and the word ego just puts up connotations about big ego and people are self-obsessed. But I think if you haven't got an ego, it just means that you're just bowling along and you're generally not aware, possibly, of things that could be a problem and things that aren't a problem. Gill is, because she's my sister and I love her, I can see what that phrase, you haven't got an ego, I really realised what that was. Pardon?
You see a danger to it, possibly.
Well, there is yes, because I think it's a level of protection that isn't there. So I think that when people say, I haven't got an ego, they're probably people who actually have got huge ego in the terms of how we understand ego.
I'm so humble. I am the humblest person that I know.
Yeah. I hope you understand what I mean, because it's almost like she's a gentle soul that actually takes everything as it is, and hasn't actually got her ego.
There's no side
protection, doesn't get in the way.
Sure.
Like it was with a lot of people. So I think that was what that meant, because it just seemed, when I thought, as soon as it was said, I thought, I could see that, because I know what ego is in terms of what the terminology about it is.
Sure.
When you look at it from that perspective, I can see why she was chosen, to do that, or why she has got that gift.
Certainly, the emissaries they downloaded to me a course on ascending the ego, because what they're saying is lots of people are trying to get rid of the ego. That's not the right thing. Yeah. It's part of us, but we can ascend it. So it does its higher level job, which is much better than the lower level job that it had before.
Absolutely. Well said. Thank you for that, because that's explained that. And I do know, when I've watched other people who does similar work, they often say, it took me such a long time because my ego got in the way, or I had to come away from my ego. And even then, I don't think they were talking about being self-obsessed, or I just think that your ego can get in the way of your decision-making process, because your protection part of the ego will sometimes help you make bad decisions, or not see a path.
The ego doesn't want you to make mistakes, not to make a fool of yourself, not to put yourself out there and be open to criticism. It doesn't like criticism. And of course, I am channeling whatever, or I'm connecting telepathically to whatever, that does leave you a little bit open to criticism sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's why I have my sister here. She asks all sorts of questions, and she is here to protect. Being my big sister.
Very good. Can I ask you a question just on the logistics of how you do this? I have the information that just streams through. How do you get your messages exactly? What's the process?
I have a vibration, I call it buzzing, in the back of my head. I have it now. Clearly, Spirit is with me. And that's my indication. They either want to talk to me, or I've met somebody and there's something spiritual around this person that perhaps I need to dig deeper on. So the buzzing for me is my intuition.
And then how do you get the message? You've got the buzzing, and then what do you do to actually the mechanics of getting your message?
I douse. So
Oh, you douse, yeah.
I put a load of protections in, and I douse. Of late, they are trying to teach me not to use the pendant. They say I'm more than capable of not using the pendant. It's a bit like a comfort blanket for me, and it gives me the ability to switch on and switch off if it's not convenient as well.
Sure,
I can put it away, and they know I've switched off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I have been in situations where, for example, I sat on a park bench recently. There was a plaque on it donated to this lady for what she'd done to the area. And I sat on the bench. I had the buzzing, and all of a sudden I heard, "Hello, and I was tuning into the woman who was dedicated on the park bench."
Okay.
So, I'm obviously able to do that. That was new to me. That surprised me. But I now know I'm capable of doing it.
There was a whole story.
That
was amazing.
So yeah, it's something I've got to be confident in doing. Sure. At the moment, pendant's a security blanket.
Well, for sure. And it's also very, I remember when the emissary started coming through, they would move my head yes and no. And that I used to get yes, no answers, and I'd go into hypnosis. And that was, you can get a lot of information with yes, no, if you ask the right question. So when you're dowsing, do you douse the alphabet? Does it spell out the words?
Yes, I've got a grid, and it starts spelling out the word, but I hear the word before the word is spelt out. So I'm getting that word. It's as I say, it's a confidence thing.
Sure.
And
sounds like you're on your way there to speed it. I suppose to speed the process up. That's all, isn't it?
Yeah. And what they do is they'll just spin round. Once I've got the hang of what they're talking about, it'll just spin round, and I'm listening to what the voice is.
Okay.
I'm listening to. So yeah, so I can do it. It's just
what is very special about what Gill does, Gordon, is this is amazing. And when she's dousing somebody, they can see through her eyes. So if she's, particularly, it happens all the time. Family members, we speak often to our loved ones who are on the other side, and we have a friend that comes here as well, and she speaks to her mum. And we only realised this one day when she was in, and she came in the room and she'd got this lovely dress on, and it was a polka dot dress, and it looked lovely. And none of us said anything about that dress. We just said, "Oh, hello, oh, you look great. How are you? Sit down, da da da." And her mum came through, which she had done before, and she spoke to this friend of ours, and she said, she came out and she said, "That dress really suits you, darling." She said, "Those polka dots look lovely." And for the first time, I think we realised that she could actually see using Gill's eyes. It sort of moved on since then, because we now know that they hear through. So Gill's senses, her senses are actually taken over, not your voice, because you don't speak.
I speak in my voice.
That was amazing to think that they could see. So the person that she was channeling,
but it's moved on now, because I gave this message to a friend of mine about her father. She got up and I said, "Can I hug you? Your father would want me to give you a hug." So I gave her a hug, and she really gave me a tight hug back. That evening, what usually happens is if I'm talking to somebody, I'll go home in the evening and douse, and their family soul will come through.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll douse and I'll tape and record that, and I'll type it up so that I can send that message to the person I've been speaking to. And the message came through that the father appreciated the hug that I had given his daughter, and he said that he felt the tight hug of his daughter.
Oh, okay.
He endorsed the fact that he felt it, or felt the vibration, or he felt a difference in
and
the
she
frequency.
Actually cried, didn't she?
She
cried at the time, which obviously, because it must have felt real. When Gill told me the story about it, I said, well, she must have enjoyed the message that you'd given her at the time, and the hug was just it was nice, let's have a hug. But she said she actually felt it, so that was validation. It's incredible. I just love it. And the more she does it, the more it's because I can douse, but I get in my own way.
Your ego, probably.
Shut up! I didn't say that.
How dare you mention my ego? Yeah.
But yes, probably, because I preempt what they're going to say, and then I get it wrong. And so I know it doesn't matter how hard I try not to do that. But so I just get the yes and no, and maybe, which is good. I mean, I enjoy doing that. I speak to my higher self and get yeses and nos, because I tend to make up my own mind anyway. But it is a validation of whatever. But it's such a lovely thing to be part of. What Gill does is just amazing.
Mm. And nice you're mentioning, sorry, Gill, to interrupt you, but you were mentioning that you've been doing kind of readings for people and stuff like that. Is that a business that you're doing? Is it something that you can earn money from, or is it just something you do as a at the
moment, I have done readings for people, and yes, there is a small charge for that because it's my time. However, obviously, when I'm meeting friends and relatives, that's all part and parcel of seeing them.
Okay. Do they have to be one-to-one, or can you do them via Zoom?
I can do them on Zoom.
So if people were interested in having a reading, how would they just contact you? If I put a contact in the notes, they can get in touch with you, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, if they comment on one of the podcasts, I'll pick that up. It's me that picks up those messages, and I'll, comment on it. They can then link up with me, send me their email address, and we'll have a conversation, and we're set up from there. Okay,
cool. So next question. So I've been listening to the messages from the Andromedan Council, and I'm aware that they're quite detailed sometimes, aren't they? They're going to quite specific details and stuff like that. The emissaries won't. That's not their job. That's not their job. They've got a different job. What's the sense that you get in terms of, from what you're getting from the council, in terms of the timing? Where do you think we are on this path that we're on?
We'll probably get the same answers as every other channel out there, Gordon. It's soon. It's very soon. We're very close. And I think, have we had any more?
Well, we did ask, why is it all very soon? Because if you think about the millions of years that have gone by, very soon could be 100 years. That would be very soon if you're looking at the longevity of this project. And they've said they don't like to give specific dates or whatever, because they are on completely different timelines than us. Time isn't really a factor where they are, but they know it clearly as they're talking to us, and we do take time into account. So it would be very unwise for them to put any sort of timeline on this. They could, even if they were a couple of weeks out, it would still be an awful thing to do, because then the credibility is down the pan. And so they say they wouldn't do it like that. All they can say is, I suppose it's the very soons. If it's a very, very, very soon, then you can imagine that it's probably imminent. But if it's only very soon, it probably isn't that quick.
Sure, yeah. Well, what I find interesting at the moment is, for example, if you think back to 2020 when the real madness started, it seems like forever ago, and it seems like yesterday. We're in a really strange dynamic with time. So I'm aware that, the emissaries don't talk about when. They say that nothing is going to stop this path. We're on this path. They were just saying today, all the timelines have converged. There's only one timeline that we're on, and that's where we're going. So for me, they have said to me that in my lifetime, I am going to see some of it.
Yes, I've had that.
Some of it. So, the beginning of the beginning, I suppose, or something like that. So I'm a lot, during the whole plan stroke demic thing, it was like, well, next Friday, on January the 1st, and we got kind of into that mind frame of, give me a date. And of course, that just made a mockery of everything, didn't it?
I know that.
And it sets up, as I said before on Telegram, that it sets up disappointment.
Yes.
People wait for that date, nothing happens, and then they mistrust the source from where it came from.
And they say, look, you've been saying this for years, waiting for something to happen. When's it going to happen? Tell me one thing that's happened. You've been saying this for years. And that is really discouraging for a lot of people, because if you just look at the Q messages, they were almost imminent. Everybody was talking about them that was reading them and that were awake. And there was so much negativity around that, because people who weren't awake were just thinking, oh, this is ridiculous. You said this would happen, and we're going to say it. And now we know that that's all part of the plan, that, they were obviously not going to speak about what was actually going to happen tomorrow or the next day. But now these dates, people are quoting the Q posts and saying this is what has actually happened. And if you read this is current. So, yeah, it's been a long, old journey. And I think just stick with it has been a bit of a gripper, really, because there was nothing that you could say that sounded sensible.
Sure, yeah. And I think what I'm learning as I go along is, instead of waiting is a mug's game. Waiting around for stuff to happen. We haven't come here to wait for that to happen. We've come here to do, to be and to do. So it's kind of like, what I've learned, my lesson is just get on and do your stuff, and then know that it's going to happen. It's the knowing, I suppose, that makes you calm, isn't it? I don't doubt it for a moment.
Yeah.
It's absolutely clear. When I have no blessed idea, but I know it's coming, and that's what they keep telling me. Message of great hope. It's coming.
Nothing can stop what's going to come. But just going back to what you were saying about the timing and how that's working out, I think we actually, on the message we last posted, the first thing that they said was we were at the top end of the fourth dimension.
Oh, that's right, the upper fourth dimension.
Yes, the upper fourth dimension, which means that the next step is obviously the fifth dimension, and that's where we're going. So, and that seems to have been quite sudden, because we were not in the fourth, the middle of the fourth, not that long ago. So that's quite a lift, I think.
When you think about it, a lot more people have woken up because of governments, and certainly in the UK, we've had a lot to wake up to. And people are noticing. I'm having conversations in the groups that I attend about politics now, where it was never discussed. I'm able to get some bits and pieces in and make people think. And that's a new thing, relatively new thing now.
Sure, yeah. The only thing that the emissaries will do is give me kind of a broad brush on how many people are awake and in that. And the last time that we talked about that, I said, how many people are in the process of waking up? Because there are lots of steps to it, obviously. And they said 60% of the population are in that process now. 20% are at the front end, actually being aware that they're awake, or whatever that is, aware or whatever. But there's this big lump of 40% who are in that beginning process, which is waking up to the world, which is what the dickens is going on. There's something wrong. And that's where most people are. And as you were saying, politics is doing a great job. Fantastic job of waking people up. I always said, we are useless at waking people up. The baddies are the best. They're the ones who wake people up.
Absolutely.
They're far bad at it.
Yes, because all the conspiracies are starting to come true. They're pretty much out there now. And it's very easy to go, told you so.
Sure.
Nobody wants to do that.
No. What the emissary said to me today, I was chatting to them, and they said, what's happening now is we're in we're in a process in the period of speaking out. People are going to feel that have the energy and the desire to speak out because people have been scared to speak out. And now, because of the levels of kind of annoyance, anger, you might call it, whatever, they're going to start speaking out. And they said, don't underestimate the power of somebody who has no idea what's going on speaking out compared to somebody who knows everything. You know, they were saying, you know, what perceived as the loonies who go, yes, well, 9/11 and JFK and blah, 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 you know, and have all the facts. They said, when somebody says, I don't know why I'm being called far right now. I don't know why the government isn't fixing this. There's something wrong, but I don't know why. They said that message is the most powerful to wake people up because they're not trying to say the no. I know why, because it's all a big conspiracy. No, they're just going, something wrong. But that's what we're going to start seeing more and more people. I see it all the time now. I don't have qualifications. I heard this guy saying, I've got no qualifications. I just know there's something really wrong. And the politicians aren't helping us.
I think that's absolutely spot on. Because, you know, you'd have to be living under a rock to think that everything is fine in the state of Denmark. It isn't.
No.
You've only got to look at any of the institutions that we've relied on all this time, the health service, even the church, the banks, education, the legal system, the police, the whole thing just seems to be, it's breaking, and most of it cannot be fixed. But the health service, certainly, what would you do? Throw money at it? It's just not about money. It's the whole ethos of the way health is provided or looked at in this country. It's no longer fit for purpose.
Sure.
It doesn't work. And there has to be inner changes in the whole concept of trying to keep people healthy. I've always thought, you know, if you want to learn about health, you don't study dead bodies. You should be looking at healthy people. How is it that there are people here that are so healthy? What can we do to replicate that so that everybody lives a healthy life? But they don't. They study dead bodies with diseases, and they look at how to manage the diseases.
Sure.
And it is, I don't think that's a really good recipe for looking at how people can stay healthy. What does a healthy person need to stay healthy and live a long, healthy life? So I do think that there needs, and there are lots of doctors out there now that are doing that. They're called functional medicine doctors, I think, and they're outside of the general practice, but they're doctors who've become doctors and then have chosen to look at the body holistically and to look at it from the perspective of health rather than disease management.
Yeah.
It's very different, isn't it?
It is different. And
time is one of the factors. They give you a lot more time.
And it's probably had its day. I mean, a lot of people are alive today because of treatment that they've had through the health service. I'm not knocking the people that work in it or, you know, the benefits that it's given. I have had, you know, health problems, and I've, you know, a long time ago, thank goodness. But yes, first place you go to is your doctor, and you take the advice. But it's almost like we've moved on now. We know more. We are looking at what has gone on and what works and what doesn't work. And we pretty much know that there needs to be a complete change and overhaul of how we treat health.
And to a certain extent, taking back responsibility.
Yes, for our own health and not just following what we're told to do. There's more to the whole thing. And I do think that's coming out, and it needs a whole overhaul. And the people in it, I'm sure the people that work in it must know that what they're doing is not necessarily having the effect that they wanted to have when they joined, you know, the medical schools and went through all that work, the hard work, learning about the body and learning about everything. And if you look at the population and the health of the population, we'll look at the world, it's deteriorating. You know, and there probably are better solutions that need to be looked at. So it's time. It's all of its time. I think it's time to do this.
And I think, again, going back to the Andromedan Council, there are technologies that hopefully will be coming our way with disclosure.
Yeah.
So
I know certainly. I heard Trump making reference to alternative health processes. He said, "Yeah, we're going to start to release alternative health processes." So that was interesting.
Gordon, he also said, now that Robert Kennedy Jr. has joined him, and he's a big health fanatic, and Donald Trump said something like, well, now Bobby's on the team, we are going to get hold of the health situation, and it will happen very quickly. And I thought, there's an indication. How do you heal an autistic child quickly? How do you heal diseased people quickly? You have to use something different. And I thought, bedbeds.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, he was saying this is I remember he said this is going to happen really quickly.
Yeah.
We're going to get the health back. So.
Yeah. And when you look at the health, they're long-term chronic problems. Our health service is great with an acute issue. You have a heart attack, you have a road accident, it's fantastic. You don't want to be anywhere else. But chronic sickness is huge across the planet, really. So to say that you're going to deal with that quickly, how fabulous.
Interesting stuff,
Joining the dots.
Yeah. And, I mean, I'm fully aware that as the president of the United States is not the savior of the world. Just interesting that these little things are coming out all over. Yeah, I agree entirely about the structures. What the emissaries say a lot, that all of this structure that's in place it has a very limited time now, because it cannot continue. It has you can't lift the hood up and start putting stuff around, changing parts. No. The actual whole thing, the vehicle is wrong. And they're always suggesting, right from the beginning, they suggested that where we'll move to, and they suggest that we'll move there before even the structure itself completely collapses. But we'll move to self-governance, governance of smaller communities where we deal with everything within, and we only need them for the health service for the emergencies, for the really important stuff that we can't deal with, but everything else we'll deal with. So they've suggested that from the beginning, that's how it'll be. Much more going back to when we used to govern ourselves in smaller communities, which would be lovely, I think.
And that creates a creative environment, because everybody is involved and everybody's got something to offer. Most people, certainly in those small communities, when people are pulling together, if you're dealing with a vast problem and looking for a vast solution, a lot of people say, "Oh, they're getting on with that. What can I can't contribute anything." But in a smaller group, in a smaller situation, it's more likely that people will want to get involved, because they know that I could do that. I know something.
Bringing back your own identity and the gifts that you've got.
Yeah, absolutely. Contributing.
Going through the process that I'm going through, my particular gift or gifts might be completely different to, various other channels. But they've got gifts that I haven't got. We've all got something different to bring to the party. So going back to that scenario, people will be able to contribute,
especially if they can see the results and the need. They can think, "Oh, I could do that. I could do that. Me and so-and-so could get involved in that. We could." It's a much more holistic approach to life, and there will be a lot to do.
For sure, yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with Michael Tellinger's One Small Town.
Yes, love Michael Tellinger. Yeah. What a lovely man. Yes.
An advanced thinker. He's had the solution, for the last 20 years or whatever, and he's working on it. And God bless him, he's dogged with it. But that idea of all of the, our efforts are all scattered because they go into useless things. I would say 80% of people who are working with giving no benefit to anything. It's just keeping the system running or whatever. So imagine all that energy going into your community, all that, even if it's just, I don't know, just cleaning the place up, or being able to help
growing your own food,
growing your own food, that, and knowing it's going to you and your family and your community, it's tremendous.
I was in a craft group yesterday. One of the groups I like to go to, because we all chew over the fact and put the world to rights. But we all love doing different things. But it ends up, we all do it just for the delight of doing it. But
Sure.
we're all capable of making beautiful things. And going back to this community thing, instead of having the big name brands where you go off and get something really cheap that's, will, fit the bill, but has brought cheap labour into it and all of the other big
horrors.
Horrors, good word. We could go back to the community where we're all able to do the thing that we enjoy doing, but actually creating something lovely that somebody else can benefit from at a much better price and know it's going back into the community.
Exactly.
We're losing the ability to do these crafts because they're not being taught at school anymore.
And don't forget, we've been dumbed down with all this rubbish on the box in the corner, Hollywood, all the other stuff that has distracted us from our spare time when we've had spare time. How many children now carry a phone or a box or something under some technology, and they're just wound up in it.
Yeah.
What I saw the other day, which was rather lovely, I think you posted it, was this a teacher in China. Apparently the children there spend far too much time. Was it you that posted it?
Yeah,
spend far too much time on their gadgets, and they're unfit. And this clip that was shown was this chap that was standing in front of a mass of children, all dressed the same. They're only sort of like 11, 12-year-olds. And he was doing this, they'd got some music on, and he was doing this incredible dance. And they were all doing it behind him. It was amazing. And he said he was doing it because the children are unfit because they spend so much time on their gadgets. And it was a way of getting them to actually exercise. And it was a really
like
good
their assembly
workout.
in the morning.
Yeah.
They all this dance routine.
And it was great. And he was having a whale of a time himself. This music was booming out, and then all these kids were all doing this in sequence. It was great.
Lovely, yeah.
I don't know why I brought that up, but it was.
Years ago, when I used to look at the stats of people, I think I turned my TV off 25 years ago now, and when I looked at the stats then, the average person spent 40 hours a week watching the TV. Yeah. All that's happened is that's transferred now over to 40 hours a week on the phone, probably more now.
I'd say more, because it's with more time during the day, sitting on a bus, waiting for something. You're on your phone, people, you can see them. When you're wheeling your baby down the road, or you've got a little toddler by and you're on the phone and you're holding the toddler's hand.
No.
It's so sad to see that.
It's very sad. Imagine half of that time invested in yourself or your community. Imagine how much, because you were talking about being dumbed down. The phone's doing a fantastic job as well, because yes, we're learning all of this useless information, like loads of there's some great information as well if you want it, but imagine if half of that time was spent on investing on you and making yourself a better person and working just in whatever you need to work. The world would just go in a very, my opinion is, all of the mess that we've got and all of the horror can be turned around in 6 months. Everything, just by attitude. And I think as well, people, how people we've been taught to fight. Now it's all conflict. Everything is conflict, black and white, up and down, left and right, white and black, everything. Yeah, it's always conflict. But that's just because that's what they've done, and that's how they control us. When that stops, and we are given the propaganda, because unfortunately, whether you like it or not, people respond very, very well, quickly to propaganda. We respond well to it. That's what we're a community, we're a pack. So we like to do what everybody else is doing. So I believe with using that strength, everything can be turned around. People can be made to be beautiful again in a very short space of time. We just need some good leaders who who are going to say what we need to do. Tell us what we need to do. Everyone's just waiting.
I think you saying that, Gordon, I think the Andromedan Council, the leader that we were speaking to, I'm not sure which message it was, but he said that they could turn round, that they could get rid of all the toxicity on the planet in a very short space of time, a bit like Donald Trump, with very quickly. And when you think of the pollution in the seas and everything, that is incredible to think that could be turned around very quickly.
Sure.
And it just shows you how much we don't know about anything. These beings have been around for a hell of a lot longer than we have, and they can, the problems we've got, they probably think, oh, jeepers, we could do that, we could do this. Just ask, let us come in and help.
Sure, I agree.
The way we've been living, we think that we're having a great life and everything's fine, but the more you learn about how much we don't know, you realise, no, excuse me, we have not reached anything like our potential, and we have destroyed the planet in the meantime as well. Not intentionally, but just because that's what we've had to live with and learn how to live. We've learned how to live like that, and it means destroying the planet. The way we live is destructive. Sure. And it's very sad, and we need to get out of that mindset. And I said to Gill, I think I'd rather be a 6-year-old child at the moment, because if this is all going to happen soon, I can just learn all the new stuff instead of having to unlearn all what I know and catch up. It's not going to be the right situation.
What I'm very aware of now, having gone down so many rabbit holes and everything, is that we don't need any new technology to be able to put everything right. We've got it here. It's all been suppressed. So in a flash, literally in a flash, all the cars that are running on the road could start running on water now. It's just a very, very small little thing, and start pumping out water out of the exhaust. Just like that. That's all there. It's been invented so many times, and they keep killing them and suppressing them and paying them off. All plastics, all waste on the earth can be converted into oil. They've got the technology. I saw it, and it was this big plant that would squash everything down, and all that came out was oil, and that nothing came of it. And so, and they've got all of these machines that can just go through the water and take all the plastic out. They've got everything. Everything's there, but they don't want it, clearly, because they've got to keep us scared and worried that the planet's going to end.
Money. That doesn't generate money either. So.
No, not at all. No, and no. But I think the money's that's lower level. Like let's not. If it's no money, we're not going to do it. But it's this well-being. They don't want us to get a sense of well-being now. We mustn't feel okay. We must feel upset, worried, concerned, fretful. That's where they need us. And so they could never give us stuff that would make us think, phew, well, that's one worry gone.
Yeah, so that we continually rely on them. Can you please sort this out, please? Because it's horrible and we need you to sort it out. I think that's what happened with the Patriot Act. They in America, they said, oh, it's all this terror around, oh dear, well, what are you going to do about it? We need your help. Well, we could bring in these things, but it does mean that some of your security, I don't care. I'm not a bad person. I don't care if you look at all my stuff. It's great. Well, we're going to have to photograph you and know where you are all the time. Yeah, that's fine. So they create the problem, and they see the reaction, and then they provide the solution. And
the Hegelian dialect, yeah. Yeah.
You're dying for it then. Oh, please, because it's so horrible.
I need it now.
I need it.
Yeah. Save us from all of these problems that you've created in the first place.
Yeah. But that's all changing, Gordon. That's all. So
of course.
Of course. We have to stay positive and know that nothing can stop what's coming.
Yeah.
And then we just got to keep passing these messages on. So just to round up, thank you ever so much for the work that you do. I really appreciate, that you put yourself out there, because, you do put yourself into a spotlight that can be difficult sometimes. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for passing the messages on, and please keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, that's lovely. Just the same about you as well.
Going on your last podcast with your son, Sebastian.
Oh, yes.
That was brilliant. and my higher self wanted to congratulate you on having such a son that is a credit to you.
Thank you.
I needed to pass that on as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, he's a wonderful, he's a deep thinker.
Credit to you is what I'm passing on. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, well, it's been beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful to talk to you.
It's great, and who knows, we might catch up again in the next year if it's still going.
Exactly, and maybe we'll have even more positive things to say next year. Yeah.
Fabulous. Yeah,
excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
All the best, Gordon, and carry on doing what you're doing. We love your podcast, so it's really good to get a different aspect of channeling the good news. It's great what you do. Thank you.
Super. Okay, well, we'll talk again. Take care, and I'll see you in your next streaming channeling telepathy session. Yeah.
Thank you, Gordon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.